Hello everyone. In my last few videos I've been taking a closer look at some of NECA's horror offerings, and I'm continuing that theme with today's video, which will be looking at The Creep from Creepshow. This is quite a quirky release from NECA, but a welcome one, as the original Creepshow has built up a cult following and went on to spawn 2 sequels and an anthology TV show years later. Based on the EC comics of the 50s, The Creep has remained in the consciousness long after publication ceased, due in no small part to the strong visuals associated with the ghoulish revenant who loves to tell macabre tales. If The Creep bears a resemblance to the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt, that's no accident. Whilst both are based on the same source material, I'm sure the highly effective and striking creature design of The Creep from Creepshow will have almost certainly influenced the look of the TV Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt, who sports a very different appearance than he did in the comics. Anyway, I digress. Let's get on with the overview, and as ever, we'll kick off by taking a look at the packaging. NECA have employed what is basically their standard deluxe figure packaging for this release. It is that box that we know and love, and it's pretty striking because of course they have simply used one of the film posters associated with this film, which looks absolutely fantastic. This image here of the Creep in the kiosk issuing your ticket to this film is a really great visual image. What a fantastic film poster this is. So obviously this makes for a fantastic display if you want to put this in a cabinet somewhere. You're already off to a fantastic start. If we flip it and look at the side panel, it's a little bit more underwhelming. We just have the logo from the film. Now, personally, I would have preferred to have actually had an image taken from the film of the Creep, or perhaps even a photo of the figure itself, which is something that NECA do an awful good job of. But sadly, they haven't opted for that on this occasion. But if we flip it and look at the rest of the packaging, we can see that they've done a lot of still photography here with the figure in various poses, with the various accessories, actually recreating some of the scenes from the film and some of the lighting there as well, which is really effective and looks really good. What's even better is I like that they've employed the idea of the comic book panels to this as well, which is really cool, keeping in theme, and it looks really fun. So this is, again, a great display piece. And that continues to the folding cover as well, because if we open that flap up on the left hand side, we have this fantastic photo of the figure replicating a key scene from the film and some of the marketing actually. So this is a really smart choice. This looks absolutely brilliant. And then of course on the right hand side we have the window display, and we actually even have a little bit of a speech bubble there from the Creep himself. Inside, behind the figure, there is this card interior, which, as you can see, is a little bit of a diorama piece. It is replicating that booth that we see from the front of the packaging from the film poster, which is a really nice touch. First impressions upon opening the figure up is that he's quite lightweight. There's not an awful lot of substance to the skull. But just because the Creep is largely covered in a shroud doesn't mean that NECA have taken the opportunity to skimp on the detail. Far from it. If we start by taking a look at this head sculpt, we can see there's an awful lot of detail here in terms of the flesh that's peeling off the bones. The rotting corpse-like appearance of this Creep is pretty impressive. And of course, this is fantastically capitalized on by the wonderful paint apps that really bring this to life, or near life, I suppose. There's a lot of different paints here to really create this very authentic looking decomposing face, which is pretty phenomenal. And they've even managed to capture something of the Creep's personality in here with that ghoulish grin that he's got and those bulging eyes. This is really quite effective. Now the hair is a translucent plastic, but even within that, there is a wash going over it to draw out a little bit of detail as well. All in all, this creates a very wispy, ethereal kind of glow to the figure, which is quite cool. Of course, he's got the shroud there as well. Now, that hood actually has a wire in it, so you can pose that as well, which is really nice. And of course, you can lift it down to get a closer look at some of these details, which is really nice. That cloth material shroud does indeed cover the entire body, which does, in a way, undermine some of the fantastic detailing that is underneath. And at first glance, it does look a little bit basic and like there isn't an awful lot going on here. However, as you can see, if we lift this up, we can see that underneath, NECA have spared no expense. They've really applied the same level of care of detail that we see in the head sculpt to the rest of the body and the torso, the legs, the arms, etc. There's an incredible amount of detail here, which is absolutely fantastic. And again, we have those wonderful paint apps there that really make the most out of this sculpt. It's just a shame that for the most part this is covered up and you don't get to see it, but I give NECA top marks for really going the extra mile here and giving us a really, really fantastic individual and unique sculpt. But you can see this showcased on display in the hands, and of course you can choose to roll the sleeves up if you so wish to show off a little bit more of that detail. Now the hands themselves are actually a soft plastic, and sadly you do just get the two. There are no additional hands as part of this release, which is a shame because I think if we had some alternative different options here, that would have been quite fun. And again, if we look at the feet, we can see, of course, the same detail there. We can roll up the bottom of the shroud there, and we can see some of the detail on the legs, which is really nicely applied. The only challenge, I think, with this figure is that the feet are quite long and narrow, which means they don't have a very big surface area, which does mean there tends to be some issues with balance, so it might be helpful to have a stand ready to help balance your figure on display. Looking at the articulation, he does have a ball joint at the top of the neck, allowing the head to rotate 360 degrees. It doesn't really wobble left and right, but it does look up a good distance, if not down. He does sport a hinge at the jaw though, which is a really nice touch and one I almost overlooked at first, which is really cool. He does have a ball joint in the upper shoulder, of course, as well, so that arm will lift up and out. You will notice that he actually has a double pin at the elbow, which is very cool. This also allows for a swivel at the top of the bicep, and that hand can reach all the way back to his head there, which is fantastic and kind of unexpected. We don't see this an awful lot from NECA, so I'm really pleased they put that in. He does have a pin swivel at the wrist, of course. The hand rotates all the way around. It will hinge forwards and backwards. He's also got a ball joint in the top of his ab there as well, so he can spin from side to side, lean left and right a little bit, but sadly he can't really bend forwards or backwards an awful lot. Now he does have a ball joint in the hips, but be careful if you try to spread this out too far because it will snap off. It does snap back into place there nice and easily, but it doesn't really come out that far. It will move forwards and backwards, and there is a single joint at the knee allowing that leg to bend to about 90 degrees, but it will also swivel from side to side. Before finally we have the hinge at the ankle. Now, you could be forgiven for thinking that the Creep wouldn't really come with any accessories. However, you'd be mistaken because NECA have pushed the boat out and made sure we got some goodies with this figure as well, including 2 alternate heads, a pumpkin, a candle, and this Creepshow comic book. And I think this is a really, really nice touch. Obviously, it's very, very tiny, but they have replicated one of the covers, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Inside, there's some loose panels there with enough detail to tell a story, I suppose. And on the back, we have this promotion advertising other issues in the series, which is really cool. There's such a lot of fine detail and fine printing here. This is really, really surprisingly effective. And I was surprised, but actually the Creep can hold this in his grip, which, as I said, is a sort of soft plastic, really. So I had my doubts because it's quite large, the gap, but actually it does slot in between his fingers, and as you can see, it looks pretty cool. Likewise with the candle, it just about manages to go in his very loose grip on the open palm hand. It's not the best, but hey, it works and it looks pretty cool. Likewise, if you want the Creep to hold the pumpkin, this is going to be a little bit of a challenge. It's more of a prop, really, that would be best suited at his feet. But nevertheless, he can just about balance this on his hand. And if you want, you could put the candle inside it, although it does look a little bit odd. Looking at the alternate heads, the first one, it's difficult to differentiate from the one that comes with in packaging. He has more of a wider grin, I suppose, and the hair is much more wild. It's much more out there, I suppose. So I suppose that's the key difference here. The second head is my preference. Actually, I think this is really very cool, very different look. This is, of course, taken from the different film poster here where he just has the one eyeball. Even that looks like it's coming out the socket. This, obviously, a very different look. This works really well. And so you kind of have the option here of creating 2 different versions of the Creep, whichever you want to put on display. So I think this is a really nice touch. And that pretty much wraps it up. All in all, a pretty nice figure. Now, this does feel very lightweight because he's very, very skinny. In terms of the posability, it's pretty effective. Actually, it's really great to see that double pin at the elbow there. I think the overall look is a little bit undermined, actually, by the shroud, which I really do like the cloth on the figure. I like that as an approach. I think it works really well, particularly the lined hood there as well, the wire hood. Really good to be able to lift that up or put it around his face, whatever you want to do. I think it's great it has those options, and the accessories that we have are really fun, but I actually think the real power of this figure is actually in the detailing and the sculpt, and sadly so much of that is lost and covered up by that shroud. So that's a real shame because I think it's the strongest point of this figure. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do consider giving the video a like. That kind of thing really does help the channel out and it allows me to keep making more content. And if you're interested in seeing more content, remember to hit subscribe as there'll be plenty more videos coming soon.